Education continues to rely on the excellent teacher myth rather than on the improved system approach. Excellent teachers are a gift, and we should admire, learn from, and support them. But the real issue is how to train more excellent teachers, give them curricula that really works, and give them a system that makes it easier and more likely that excellent teaching happens by design rather than by heroic efforts to overcome the system.
Hey, listen. Nobody's forcing you to be here. You have a choice. You can stay, or you can leave.
Lady, why are you playing this game? We don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice on whether or not you're here?
No. If we leave, we don't get to graduate. If we stay, we got to put up with you.
Well, that's a choice, isn't it? You have a choice. You either don't graduate, or you have to put up with me. It may not be a choice you like, but it is a choice.
Man, you don't understand nothing. I mean, you don't come from where we live. You're not bused here.
Do you have a choice to get on that bus?
Man, you come and live in my neighborhood for 1 week, and then you tell me if you got a choice.
But there are a lot of people who live in your neighborhood who choose not to get on that bus. What do they choose to do? They choose to go out and sell drugs. They choose to go out and kill people. They choose to do a lot of other things, but they choose not to get on that bus. The people who choose to get on that bus, which are you, are the people who are saying, I will not carry myself down to die. When I go to my grave, my head will be high. That is a choice. There are no victims in this classroom.
Why do you care anyway? You just here for the money?
Because I make a choice to care. And honey, the money ain't that good.
Whatever.
So you probably recognize that clip as a scene from the movie Dangerous Minds. And it's just one of the many movies out there that really depicts an excellent teacher who makes those heroic efforts to overcome the system. And even though this is a movie and it's not real life, we do know that educators today face a lot of challenges. But if one person, one excellent teacher, can have such a large impact on student outcomes, imagine what could happen if we were able to create a system that was set up to support all teachers in achieving those outcomes for all their students. We know that when we put a good person in a bad system, the system wins every time. And our goal then is to create effective systems that result in the success of all students. So a multi-tier system of supports, or an MTSS framework, is a way for districts to create those systems that would ensure successful outcomes for all students by meeting the needs of each student by using data to inform decision-making across all levels of the system. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go throughout this lesson. So by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to define what multi-tier systems of support is. You'll understand the value of integrating academics and behavior within an MTSS framework, and you'll be able to identify some of the essential components of an MTSS framework. So what is a multi-tier system of support, or MTSS? Well, it's a framework, it's not a program, that does provide all students with the best opportunities to succeed both academically and behaviorally. MTSS focuses on providing high-quality instruction and interventions that are matched to student need, as well as monitoring progress frequently and using that data to make decisions about changes in instruction or goals. Data are also used to allocate resources that improve student learning as well as support staff implementation of effective practices. MTSS uses research-based practices for creating sustainable system change as well as providing those effective instructions to students. So as previously stated, MTSS really does emphasize the integration of behavior and academics. And you may be wondering, why is there such a strong emphasis on behavior? Well, research has shown that the implementation of school-wide positive behavior support, or PBIS, leads to increased academic engaged time and then enhanced academic outcomes. On the other hand, high-quality academic instruction, such as content that's matched to student needs, frequent opportunities to respond, and frequent feedback, that high-quality instruction by itself can reduce problem behavior. So we know now that academics and behavior, they really are connected and they go hand in hand. And just like the chicken and the egg, it can be hard to tell which came first. So is the student acting out because there's something that's frustrating them academically, or there's some sort of academic deficit, Or is the student not successful academically because there's some sort of behavior or emotional or social issue that's preventing him from attending or focusing on the lesson? Many of you are probably familiar with that RTI triangle, the Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. And that's really what's at the center of an MTSS framework. It's at the heart of what we do. It's the interface where students and teachers meet. And so at Tier 1, we're talking about all students. We're talking about a core curriculum that all students access. And at that tier, all students are also screened. And the reason for the screening is just to ensure that their skills are on target to be successful, to meet end of the year goals. Core instruction, or Tier 1 instruction, is really designed, and it should be meeting about 80% of the student population. At Tier 2, we talk about some of the students. Ballpark range about 15% of the student population. And so those are students who, based on the results of the screening assessment, are found to be below benchmark or below the goal. Those students receive further diagnostic assessment to determine the specific area of need. And then in addition to the core, the students receive supplemental interventions that are matched to their need, and they're frequently progress monitored in order to ensure that they're making progress towards the goal. And if not, we're able to adjust intervention or adjust the goal if need be. So at Tier 3, we're really talking about a few students, about 5% of the total student population. And those are students who are not responding to the core curriculum with the additional supplemental interventions. Those students receive intensive and customized supports. They usually have a team of people working around them to problem solve and to develop what those supports look like. And this may or may not be special education services. So while this triangle itself seems pretty comprehensive, it's not enough. We now know that teachers need to be provided with a comprehensive assessment system in order to make those database decisions. They also need to have a research-based core curriculum and research-based instructional practices to deliver the curriculum. Without district support, we're finding that it's really difficult to sustain these MTSS practices at a building level, because we know that a lot of decisions around these three things, assessment, curriculum, and instruction, happen at the district level. So therefore, districts really need to coordinate the implementation of an MTSS framework. So they do this through providing strong leadership and identifying teams that lead the process at the district level and the building level and maybe even at the grade level. Providing really strong PD, and we're not talking about just the initial training. Yes, that's very important, but then the ongoing support is really important to ensuring that those practices are then implemented with fidelity. Also, having that empowering culture that involves staff, students, and parents so that there's complete buy-in and everybody can kind of rally around this framework and this approach. We support districts in developing this framework at a regional level through ISDs and RESAs, and then the ISDs and RESAs are also in turn supported by the state and as well at the national level. So from a national perspective, MTSS really emphasizes the following: sustainable systems change, effective leadership and database decision making at all levels of the system. So from classroom to grade level to building to district, ISD, and even state level, we're using data to make our decisions. We're emphasizing developing the capacity within districts through training and effective coaching to implement these practices. Documenting the process and systems work necessary to implement a continuum support. And there's a strong emphasis on fidelity of implementation, because research has shown that a poorly implemented program can lead to failure as easily as a poorly designed one. And so we really want to make sure that there's a strong fidelity of implementation, and that when we train people, we're doing what we said we're going to do, and we're ensuring that fidelity of implementation. And so to close, we want to have you watch a video of Colleen Riley. She's the State Director of Early Childhood, Special Education, and Title Services in Kansas. And she really does a nice job of kind of concisely summarizing this idea of MTSS and an MTSS framework in really simple language that we thought everybody would appreciate, and I appreciate as well. At the conclusion of the video, please take some time to complete the activity and explore any additional resources that are there at your convenience. Thanks so much.
Multi-tier system of support is exactly that. It's building supports in place that will benefit students as well as educators. So, for example, you're looking in an elementary school. You try to build a framework of support at all levels of instruction in order to help every student in the school succeed. So you look at the core instruction, you look at additional interventions that need to be put into place, and then you provide professional development so that teachers can help students achieve within that school system. You also produce data through ongoing progress monitoring. And the progress monitoring really helps inform decisions on an ongoing basis, so that if a student is all of a sudden having difficulty in an academic or even behaviorally, you can intervene at the earliest sign possible. And the supports or the interventions are in place for students as well as for the educators to access in order to support the students. So it's building a level of support at every level in order for students to be successful and for teachers to know how to help students be successful. In an effective multi-tier system of support, or MTSS, those supports are built in for a teacher to be successful and to know what to do. We've moved away from having teachers work in isolation. It's no longer the teacher is in her classroom or his classroom down the hall, closes the door, and works all day long with a group of students. In an MTSS framework, there is constant movement of the students and the educators within the building. And educators are having ongoing conversations about the data that is collected on a daily basis, and then working together as a group to determine how to best meet the needs of the students in that school. Additionally, the leadership at the school level as well as at the district level have a responsibility to put resources into place so that teachers have access to appropriate professional development as well as resources and materials in order to put in and implement appropriate interventions so that all students can be successful. Again, the MTSS is really designed to support students, educators, as well as parents, so that we come together and have an entire system of support for the school community.